Hello, my name is Ando Sinisalo. I am the publisher and event organizer from Marketing Parrot. And this episode is for all of my colleagues who are struggling with the current situation. I have asked advice from different marketing publishers and event organizers, and during this episode you will see and hear their suggestions how to come out from this situation as a winner.
How did the pandemic affect entries? Well, in fact, we've always been lucky in that we've always attracted a lot of independent agencies for the Epica Awards. And the big networks, a lot of them said that they wouldn't take part in any awards this year. So we knew we were going to take a hit. We knew we weren't going to get as many entries from the big famous networks. So I think in the end, we had about half the number of entries than usual. Which obviously was a blow. Having said that, at the beginning, I personally was worried that we would get hardly any. I thought that agencies would just say no awards this year whatsoever. Let's just all pull out. And in fact, no, we got far more entries than I expected. And I think that's because, and I think it shows that there is generally, no matter what agencies say, there is generally an enthusiasm for awards because they're a way of attracting new business. They're a way of, winning an award is a way of proving your creativity. I'm not saying it's the only way. Obviously, business results count as well, and that's what clients want to see. But there obviously is a merit to winning an award. And also it helps people's careers as well. If you're a young creative, it's good to have on your CV that you've won an Epica award or a Lion at Cannes or one of the other many awards. So there's obviously a utility to awards, which is interesting for me because I always wondered, what would happen if agencies decided that actually awards, were not useful or relevant anymore. But even in the midst of this pandemic, which was really very violent in terms of how it affected business, a lot of agencies still wanted to enter. So it's proof for me that awards in some way matter. So yes, we took a hit. We probably will again this year, but we got more entries than I expected. Yes, it's going to be interesting to look at how awards will change or how competitions will change after the pandemic. I think that the whole industry, if we can call the awards sector an industry, may shrink in terms of perhaps the number of entries, because there's a chance that some agencies, I don't think all, but some agencies will say, well, we managed to live without awards for a year and it didn't really affect us, so why would we go back into them? And I spoke to a creative yesterday who I was interviewing for Ad Forum on a completely different subject, but we touched on that. And he said that for him, the fact that there were no huge awards ceremonies, particularly one, which we won't name, was a relief because he said that it had become too big, too unwieldy, too many categories, and that even the value of the prize had been undermined by the fact that in the old days, and we're both the same age, so we both started going to these big award shows in the 1990s, that there were fewer categories. So when you won a prize, it actually meant something. He said that there was one year when he's a French creative, and he said there was one year when France only won two major prizes, and so when you only win two prizes and it's your agency, then it really means something. And now, of course, if you don't win 15, then you're a loser basically.
And we also made the decision to make it free for online attendees. Well, we see in the Netherlands that it's difficult to have people buying tickets for online events. So your income is mainly based on sponsorships.
Let me give you an example because we learned a lot. You usually have like an academic event or a conference event. You would say like a day. In the past normal in 2019, you booked the venue. You start like I would say 8 a.m. and you end your whole agenda at 6 p.m. You have some coffee breaks, lunch, and say. And the first thing you would think of, hey, let's switch this to digital, but the audience behave very differently in these digital platforms. Because you have the agenda, you maybe connect to one of, what are your interests? I would say, hey, I would like this to have this panel over here, maybe look at this conference over here. And at the end of the day, I mean, the exposure you had with the event is not like the 8-hour event you have in this physical event, but you had the opportunity to choose what are your interests. So just as an event producer and us as media producers, we learn a lot of that. Say, let's have these like very compact agendas that I would say no more than 2 or 3 hours that you can deliver and you can engage audience. I think that the word engage, it really I mean, we have always talked about it, but really you have to focus on how to really engage your audience in these digital live transmissions, webinars, and events.
When people are talking about print dying, I think it's more like print in lifestyle magazines and of course dailies, but not in specialist magazines and print issues, which is quite different. We learned that in this crisis that we should stick to our subscription base and that we should send it to our subscribers. And one thing that we did is that we asked them if they wish to receive their copies at home, because obviously 70 or 80% of the people are working remotely, and we had quite a good feedback from them, and so we check monthly on where the subscribers want our magazine, at home or in the office. And there, I think that the response was quite good, because we send them the magazines home. We also increased the number of daily mails with our top stories. We now do it not only on weekdays, but also on Saturdays and Sundays. Saturday is like long read stories, and Sundays is like short summary of the week. So we have more contact with our readers. We also increased the number of so-called daily sponsors of our daily news. We increased a number of posts on social media on all possible platforms, as we think that this gives us a certain edge in this time.
What we have found is that now online, the events that resonate best or seem to resonate best from our point of view, with our experience, are quite specific, topically quite specific events, with not necessarily like 20 or 12 speakers or such, rather one or two or three or max 4 teachers who really teach quite deeply on a rather narrow business topic. Maybe for a day, or maybe for a few hours, for a couple of days. But live, interactive, not like it's not a TV format that really sells or that works. It's quite the opposite. It's an interactive format, a teaching format that seems to work best online from our point of view and based on our experience. So that's also what we are then nowadays producing and offering for our customers, on top of the mostly free of charge webinars, which are as interactive as possible and going even more into that direction in our case at least, and all the other digital content that we are doing.
We had some quite negative experiences with webinars we tried to do in March and April and May last year, and the turnout of the people following it was really low. So we were quite unhappy with that, and I think that people are don't want to listen to webinars and Zoominars and so on, because they do it all the time in their work time, and so we decided we will not have this kind of webinars that other organizations can have it. We will not do this.
One is customer experience, and what we normally do, we go to a big conference hall and we have about 300 to 400 people, and we have a broad program with a keynotes and with 6 to 7 breakout sessions. So that was the setup. And we thought, in an online format that is not feasible. So we changed that program completely and we spread it all through a week, and we called it CX Marathon. And what we did is to organize all the CX topics around industries. So we had CX in B2B, we had CX in public sector, we had some CX trends, and we had CX in financial services. And there were short online sessions which took about 2.5 to 3 hours with 3 to 4, 5 speakers, and a mixed up of cases, a keynote, and we had recorded a English guy who is the CX rock star, which was then broadcast during all the sessions, which was one of the main keynotes. We normally would have invited offline, but that is how we try to get a keynote speaker over 6 to 7 sessions. So that was our main conference online, and also there we were not able to sell tickets to the audience, and we had to finance it from, let's say, sponsorships.
The sponsorship for all our these brands or businesses of our ecosystems is like the commercial model. A lot of companies from the B2B side are in a way in their content marketing strategy to do this kind of their own events, free events. Hey, you have your free access to these events, and if you want to come here, I mean, I would like to have like a strategy for leads, like lead conversion. I would say, okay, you can go, you can attend to our event. Just give me your information, which is like, a lead management in a way that you can have this funnel, and you say, hey, this person attended to one of our free events, and in a way to have this marketing funnel in which you maybe you can see in the long term how to monetize that person or that reader that came to our event. Really, the commercial approach is very different. I mean, for us to charge this event, I mean, it's not viable. We only did like two events. I think that when you have a lot of free content, that's like my perspective. I mean, like the publisher perspective, I would say, hey, I mean, you're free to go wherever you want, but still some initiatives that really deliver some valuable content in a way that you can charge, I mean, even $1, but it's not free, because what you have here really makes a difference towards the free content. If we think long term, do we have like a marketing funnel of leads, in a way to see, hey, if this guy came here for free, I mean, in the long term, we have to monetize this guy. How? Maybe a subscription model, and say, hey, this one was for free, but the other ones, I would charge you $1 or maybe $2. But think on the long term, I would say that especially in trade press, because if you see, I think that in the ecosystem of marketing, innovation, creativity, and whatever, there are some points when you can see valuable content, and I think that the audience is willing to pay. How much? It depends. I see like colleagues from the US, like Adweek, like Ad Age, or even DigiDay. Those colleagues, I mean, they have a lot of events, but some of them that are really curated the content, I think that their market really is willing to pay, but it is, I mean, you have to go within to see how that operates, because every market is different. Here in LATAM, I mean, in Latin America, there are a lot of free events. But locally, in this pandemic situation, we make a very good alliance with IAB, the International Advertising Bureau here in Colombia, and we sat down and say, hey, let's make an event. Let's join forces, because it's a very important to, in a way, to think about strategic alliances, how to unite forces, but still thinking on how to deliver a very good production of events, but thinking wisely on the business model. Because I think on the long term, if everything goes free, so where are we going?
When the pandemic is over, if it is over, that people will be very keen to attend conferences, live events, because they want to mingle, they want to talk, they want to share experiences. We are social animals, and we had some conferences that we in the past that we didn't organize for like 2-3 years, and after 3 years we said, okay, let's see if we can revive this conference, and the turnout was very good. So I think that the brand can last for 2, 3, even 5 years, and the people will be back. I think that maybe the conferences that are trying to be live now in virtual environment are maybe possibly losing some of their brand positivity, because people are they don't like these events. The turnout is very, very low. It is like 100 people, 200 people. This is not some strong number, and they will connect in their subconscious than these events with pandemic. And I don't know. This is my opinion, that it is better to have live events as they used to be, or none at all.
I think they will come back in masses, most probably, whenever it's safe, for sure. I believe there is some demand that has been kind of piling up. There is such for restaurants, there is such for travel, for culture, for concerts, for business and networking events alike. There is an amount of people who are a bit tired of Zoom meetings as well. But at the same time, a lot will change. Still pre-pandemic, there were quite a lot of events who didn't want to offer the possibility to participate online. I think that will be quite rare. Only the case for small, very small events, which are not even filmed as a recording or anything. But I believe usually the standard is that you can either participate physically or online. And online, the experience of participating is closer to the one of attending in person, in terms of also having visibility to who else is participating, the networking possibilities, and many other innovations that have taken place thanks to the pandemic. So hybrid is I believe is the new normal. And then there is a lot of new concepts also that will outlive the pandemic in digital only mode. But I believe those are mostly the ones with more specific, deeper learning angle to them.
We watch other players who were also trying to put normally an event which you pay for the tickets online, and we didn't see them succeed. So they also had to change their model, and we got a challenge in the Netherlands where they got a lot of marketing events. So the competition is quite fierce, and we watched to, let's say, the bigger publishers who were earlier than us, and they made the same decision. But yes, you're right. You look from an income point of view, the income has drastically decreased. But because of the government had a kind of regulation in which you are subsidized for a part of the income loss you're having. So that made us able to, let's say, finance it, because without that it would be very difficult to, let's say, to pay all the personnel. So in the long run, I have some sincere doubts whether this model is feasible from an economical point of view. After summer, we're still doubting whether we're gonna go ahead with the offline format, because I'm expecting a lot of, all the publishers now are planning their events in Q3, Q4. So it will be a very crowdy, busy time frame for all the offline events. So and I'm not sure whether we want to be in that fight. The mindset and the willingness to do things online is there, and also the tools are now much further than that. And we have also things like customer journey mapping, which was a normally kind of physical training course or part of an education, which we also do now with Mural online, and that works pretty well. And also we use a lot of, for instance, Harvard cases, and I didn't expect, that was my biggest fear, whether the learning experience would be of the same quality and the same level as the offline. And I was very surprised that with online breaking groups, the outcome was quite good, and we could compare with offline meetings. So the output wasn't less, and also the experience which you also measured wasn't less. So I'm now more confident that what we do normally in the offline courses, we can also do online, and that made us also decide to, let's say, internationalize our programs more. And so we also will offer these in other countries, so people can participate online. And what we also see now is that Holland is not a big country, but we still have some areas in the north and the very south, which is, let's say, from a travel distance, let's say 2 hours. If you have to go on an evening to a physical location, it can be a lot. So what we now see is that even if you go offline, we offer the possibilities to participate online. So we will also go to kind of hybrid mode, where a part of the group will be online and a part of the group will be offline. And I think that will not disappear, I expect.
And in terms of the future, I think the future will probably be a hybrid event. I'm not sure there will be a live event this year. Maybe we'll record it again this year, depending on the situation with the pandemic. But, let's say in 2022, you could do something where you have the jury voting live online. Then you could have perhaps the Grand Prix voting in a room somewhere with people gathering, or not. But then you could have an award ceremony on stage somewhere where there'd be a real live audience. But at the same time, you could broadcast it or live stream it. Because one of the things that was great about the recorded ceremony was that you can then promote it in advance via social media. And your potential audience is far vaster than having 300, 250 people in a theatre in Budapest or whatever. So I think that what I'd like to see is a kind of, almost like a kind of late night chat show format, where you have a stage where you see me talking to people, interviewing the winners, etc. And you have a live studio audience who applaud, etc., etc. But also everybody else can see it too. So it's not just an exclusive gathering of the winners and people they bring with them, but you throw it open to everybody who entered, and potentially everybody who's interested, students, up and coming creatives, the world in general, my mum and dad. So I think that's it. I think the future is smaller, more efficient, and possibly a sort of hybrid live stroke digital model.